Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of my little get ready with me. I am going to link part 1 right here or here, whichever side it is. So you're going to need to watch that one before you watch this one. First, a little housekeeping. Our giveaway winner was Paige. I did a little random comment selector and Paige wins. So Paige, get with me in DMs on Instagram and I will get out your package. I just want to say a couple trigger warnings. This may be a little traumatic. It was traumatic for me. So if hearing about traumatic things happening to other people is triggering, maybe skip this little two-parter. Yeah, just wanted to give that warning. Also, these are my experiences. Please do not leave comments that invalidate my experiences. I would appreciate that. Also, everyone has the right to interpret it however they want. That's cool. I'm cool with that. But what I don't want to see, if you would please, is any theological debates in the comments. That's, if you have a theological question, you can DM me on Instagram. But yeah, let's not go back and forth. Not that I ever have problems with you guys. You're all amazing. So you're all respectful, but I do want to throw that in there. Is that all, Bowie? Yeah, I think that's all. So let's get into part 2. Hi! Bowie's in dire need of a haircut. Thank you. He needs a haircut so bad, and his groomer is backed up until the 15th. You beautiful boy. Oh, say hi. Say happy holidays. Here, you lay on my sweater. He sits right at my feet, so if he bumps the camera, I'm sorry. So yeah, we're back for part 2. I've got my tea. Also, changed my lighting. Instead of soft boxes, now I have LED. They kind of blind me. I'm trying to work it out, so let me know how the lighting looks. If it's too cool, if it's too warm, if it's too bright, too dark, let me know. I do have my skincare, my Tatcha Silk Canvas, my brows done, and my Gerard Cling Canvas eye base on. I did redo my nails. I saw Jamie Genevieve have her nails done like this, and it was just so cute. I am going to be using Tina, the Fancy Faces Hummingbird palette for this look. Let's get started. So if you remember from part 1, I left off. I'm in wherever I was. It was just the most peaceful, amazing, wonderful place I've ever seen, smelled, heard in my entire life. And I kind of got the feeling from the people walking around there that I was supposed to kind of go the way they were going. So that's what I started to do. But as I did that, all of a sudden, like I said in the first video, it just felt like I had a rope around my waist and someone snatched me. And within a couple seconds, it was pitch black. So I try to get my bearings about me, and I'm like, where am I at? What's happening? I didn't understand what was going on. I'm trying to look around, but all I see is black, just black. But soon my eyes began to refocus, and I just realized that where I'm at isn't pitch black, it's just very, very dim. Now, at the time, I had no idea how long I had been wherever I was before this. It was like there was just no sense of time whatsoever there. So now I'm thinking, how long was I there? Where am I at now? How long am I going to be here? So as my eyes begin to focus, I realize I am standing on what's like a stone staircase. And as my eyes continue to focus, it's like things start to come into picture and I'm able to see things a little bit more clearly. So when I look around, it almost looked like a movie where it was like a nuclear fallout. It was very dark, gray, just desolate. And the feelings I had being there were all the exact opposites of the place I was before. So it was like this night and day. So where I was before, it was contentment and just peace and acceptance and love. And this place, it was like lonely, just void. That's the best way I could describe it. Just void of any good feeling. So I see that I'm actually at the top of this staircase, like I said, and I decide I'm going to follow it down where it was like spiraled down. So I'm walking down this staircase, and it gets to where it kind of opens up, and all I see is this enormous looking cathedral. Is the only way I know how to describe it. But it was just what was left of a cathedral, if that makes sense. It was stone, and it looked burnt out, and it just kind of looked destroyed. And I also noticed there was another staircase that went even further down. And so I decide I'm gonna go see what's down there. So I start following this other staircase down, and it's going down, and it's going like under the cathedral, under the ground I'm on. And I just keep walking. And just as I'm about to like stop, and because nothing, there was nothing, it opened up into this very, very long hall. And it was very, very dimly lit. I could barely see, but I decided to keep going. So as I keep going, I'm noticing, and I'm not going to go a whole lot into this because it really freaks me out, and it really seemed very, very real in the moment. So much so that I'll go into it later, but I had some issues afterwards because of what I saw, and it felt like I was really experiencing it. So, but I realized I was almost in like caves, but the caves almost looked like a prison cell, but not with like regular metal bars or anything. It was almost like, the way I described it to my family was almost like, okay, if you know what stalactites and stalagmites were, but they were coming down from the ceiling and then up from the ground and like forming these cells. And inside these cells were these creatures. And I am not going to describe them because I have to think about them if I describe them, and it's not going to make for a good night for me. But again, with these creatures, just like the people that I had talked to before, wherever I was, and I'm going to give you my summation of what I think happened, but they didn't use words. You just heard them. You knew what they were saying. It's like telepathy. I love this palette. So these creatures, I can't even begin to describe to you, other than to say I've never seen anything like it. There is no horror movie, no special effects creature I have ever seen that even came close. They were big. They looked like men, but not men. A man-like creature. I don't know. That's... And what these things said to me were what was most terrifying, because every horrible, evil intent that they had for me was what they were telling me they were going to do to me. And there were, Bowie, you're not going to do anything. And they would cause flashes of the scenes of them doing it to me, like into my mind. It was the most terrifying thing. Like I said, I don't really like talking about it. It was very traumatic, and years later now, it still gets to me to talk about. But so finally, I'm just like, I got to get out of here. So I make my way back up the staircase, and I decide to just like sit down on the stairs. And I'm sitting on the stairs. I've got my head down in my hands, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I hear this voice behind me, and it says, but you belong here. And I turn around, like I look, and there's no one there. So I just start crying. I start bawling. And this voice just starts accusing me of all these things. All the things I have ever done, like my kids, my addiction, just everything I ever wanted to forget, he's bringing back up. I say he because it was a male voice, I don't know. But it wasn't a threatening voice. It was a nice voice, like a, not a nice voice because the things he was telling me weren't nice, but it was like a smooth voice, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't like a growl or angry or threatening. It was just this voice that was accusing me of all this stuff. And as he's accusing me of this stuff, it's all replaying in my mind like I was there again. And that's what really got me and frightened me, because again, all this stuff I had done seemed so real and like I was completely just right back there. And again, I'm terrified because as he would say these things, that feeling of despair and loneliness and being alone just got stronger and stronger and stronger. So I'm freaking out. So this happened again and again and again and again until I could not take it anymore. I remember thinking, this is torture, and I'm crying, just sobbing. And all of a sudden, I look up and I'm laying in a hospital bed. Well, I didn't know where I was, but I've been in enough hospitals that I know I'm in a hospital bed. And I see this nurse leaning over me doing something, and she has long black hair, and she had a necklace on. And I remember that because when she would lean over, like her little pendant would kind of be right at my eyeline. And I could kind of feel myself coming to, but as soon as that happened, it started to fade back to black. And I remember like in my head screaming, no, 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 like I can't go back to where I was. And the next thing I know, I'm right back at that cathedral, and it starts all over again. And y'all, this happened day after day after day, except for me, there was no sense of time. So it's like it's just going on forever. So as this keeps happening, and I'm not going to repeat the things that he said to me because I feel like it just may be too triggering for some of you, but I knew the intent was for me to give up my will to live. I knew the intent was to wear me down, and it was working. So after what felt like an eternity of this going on, I was just starting to lose it. And I would scream for him to shut up, and it just kept going. It was like a record playing. And when I say sobbing, like hyperventilating sobbing, heaving. And I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I just remember thinking about my grandmother. And my grandma was this old little Southern Christian lady, and the woman had the faith of Job. And I remember a song about calling on Jesus. So in my heaving and crying and sobbing, I just screamed out the name Jesus. And when I did, just like that rope that was around me before, I heard a different voice say, I'm here. And I felt like someone just lifted me up from underneath my arms, and I opened my eyes, and I was in a hospital room. I was not on a vent, which I didn't know I was to begin with, but I just knew when I woke up, when I would fade back to consciousness, I knew I couldn't talk. And I knew I couldn't move. And that's because I had a paralytic in my system, because I was on a forced air ventilator. So I wake up and I see my mom and my dad and my husband come in. And they're all crying, and I'm crying because I was so happy to see them. And they couldn't stay long because it's ICU. But before my husband left, I told him, I said, whatever you do not let them put me back under. Because I was so terrified of being back in that place. So evidently, the days start going by, and I gave my nurse a message from her grandfather who had passed away. I barely remember any of this stuff. I had a message for my brother. I don't know what exactly happened there, but the only thing about the nurse I remember is that apparently her grandfather, she was young. She couldn't have been older than like 24, but I remember she was Hispanic and she was gorgeous. And I told her that her grandpa told me to tell her he sees her and he's so proud of what she had become. And she apparently started just like bawling. And if you've been a nurse, you've seen and heard some stuff like that. Just stuff you can't explain. But anyway, I was also very, very confused. I still didn't know, like I said in the last video, what had happened. And it was at this point, it's been a week or whatever, and my mind's still not right. And that's when they started thinking, she should kind of be, not this bad still as far as memory and cognitive function. And the whole time I'm still trying to learn to walk. Again, I had a feeding tube, an NG tube, and I had a PICC line in. I still have the scars. But yeah, I wasn't progressing the way they would have liked me to. And I know it was really, really freaking out my husband. But I just remember being so fearful and so scared still. One night I woke up, there was like this balloon. Friends had brought me a balloon. Just the shape of it and the way it was moving in the corner of the room, it was really dark. It looked like someone in the room, and I get paranoid and I'm freaking out. And then I wanted coffee, of course. So my husband leaves to go to Dunkin' Donuts, which is literally right across the street. And he said he wasn't even out of the parking lot before I called him. And I was like, where are you? I thought it had been hours. It was a mess, y'all. I thought there were people I kept hearing a baby cry one night, and I kept thinking the hospital was stealing people's babies. I mean, just the most off the wall stuff. And I remember these things like they happened. It's not like a distant memory or dream. It's like it happened. It's in those moments, it was like it was really happening to me. So again, like I said in the other video, they're doing MRIs, they're doing tests, and they're just like, this may be permanent. And they knew I was going to need months of rehab. They had planned on sending me to a rehab facility. As most of you know, I'm a singer, and it wasn't looking like I was going to sing again because I still couldn't talk right. I couldn't swallow right. It was just, I was having all these problems in my throat, in my head. I was extremely weak. So it was just a waiting game. Now at this point, I've been in the hospital for a month. Like I said, there's no signs of it getting better. I'm kind of able, I'm still having to use the putty chair right beside my bed with the help of my husband because I can't walk. They had started trying to get me to eat something like yogurt, and that's when they did the swallow study because I just couldn't swallow. And everything tasted like metal. I had no taste. And I was constantly scared. And I barely slept. It's like I didn't get tired. It's like I didn't get sleepy. I still have that problem. It would always get the scariest at night. It's like during the day I was okay, but at night when I had to go to sleep, I would get terrified. And I would even have my husband read the Bible next to me because I was so, read it to me because I was so scared. I was just so confused and felt like I woke up a different person. And then one night, now remember, I think I had been in a car accident. Oh, that is one thing I will include that the voice was telling me when I was in the dark place, was that I had been in a car accident and that my 1-year-old son had died and that if I lived anyway, I was going to be paralyzed. And what good would I be to anyone if I was paralyzed? Now we know that's a lie, and we know that even if that was the case, I still could have had an awesome life. But that was another thing he was using to get me to kind of give up my will to live. So I'm thinking I've been in a car accident, and that's why I'm in the state I'm in. And my husband's reading the Bible to me, and he said he looked over, and I just had a different look on my face. And he said, "Babe, do you know why you're here?" And they would all ask me that a lot because it's a way to gauge where my mind was at. This is one of the cognitive questions. And I said, yeah, I got sick. And the look on his face, I don't know how to describe it. He was shocked. Well, at that same time, I had a good friend back at my church. And for all y'all that don't know, if someone needs prayer, sometimes you'll stand in for somebody. And that just means you stand in their place. Prayer is said over you for whatever that person needs. And my friend, she didn't even let him get started. She walked right up to the front and she's like, "I'm standing in for Bethany. I want y'all to pray right now." Because this had been going on now for couple weeks that I just, I was still just having so many problems. And I'm really thankful that they did that for me, because in that moment, it was like a light switch went off in my brain and I was totally thinking right again. it was just a random evening. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't praying. I mean, my husband was reading the Bible to me, but it was legitimately another miracle. Like, so he asks me, babe, do you know why you're here? And I said, yeah, I got sick, and not the eye to be getting upset. So the doctors come in, doing their rounds in the morning, and my husband tells them what happened, and he starts asking me the questions, talking to my husband, and they're just like, we have no idea what to say. Like, okay, well, all right. So, I'm still getting my heparin shots in my belly, and I'm still getting all my meds, and I was like, I want to eat. So the doctor was like, yeah, you can't leave until you get that NG tube out, so you need to be eating before you can leave and we get that thing out of you. That day, they took out my PICC line. I still have my IV, and they also set up physical therapy to prepare me to go home. And they thought it would be about another few weeks, but that looked like I was finally on the right track. And so when they're doing physical therapy, they take me and they were like, can you stand up? I was able to hold my weight standing up, took a couple steps back to the bed and sat down. I hadn't walked, since I had gotten there. And she was just like, oh my God. And they're like, okay, well, we'll try it again in a little bit. So they would randomly come in and I was able to have my husband walk me to the bathroom where I didn't have to go in the room anymore. I was able to eat soft foods, not like I didn't jump right back into solids, because you can't do that after your stomach not eating for weeks and weeks. So it was mainly a lot of yogurt and Boost, which is disgusting. So the following day, physical therapy brings this thing that's like, it's 3 steps and then a little platform and then a ramp on the other side. And it's got handrails. And they wanted me to be able to walk up the 3 steps and walk down an incline without needing help. So it was a little rough the first day, but the second day I did it. And everyone's blown away. They just couldn't believe how everything turned around. Day 2, they took my NG tube out and I ate 3 different meals. Again, mainly yogurts, booze, whatever. But everything seemed to be working normally. Before that switch went off in my head, I couldn't eat, I couldn't walk, I couldn't write, I couldn't talk, I couldn't swallow, and I walked out of the hospital on my own 3 days later once that switch went off, after they said I would need 3 to 6 months of rehab. Now, my pulmonology team, nurses, they all thought it was a miracle that I survived to begin with. But even more so that what happened after happened. Not that it happened, but the way it happened. It was literally in a moment. So I go home and I start recovering. And then about the second day, mind you, I've been on morphine this whole time, and they sent me home on like Percocet. I'm having this pain in my chest, and I had been having pain there the whole time. I went through a major lung infection, so 2 Percocet weren't even touching the pain, and that's not helping. That's not a good sign. So I let my husband know I was just in a lot of pain, and he took me back to the emergency room, and this time they did an MRI with contrast, and they said when the doctor came, I'm in the ER at my little country hospital. He comes back and he's like, girl, your lungs look like Swiss cheese. So apparently I had like this flesh-eating lung infection, and I have the report. I had like centimeters big. And people said before, everybody has holes in their lungs. Yes, I know that. But there were actually ulcers in my lungs. And so I had to go back into the hospital. They sent me in an ambulance back to the hospital I was at in the ICU. But this time, fortunately, I was in a step-down unit. That way my husband could be with me. And I just needed to be on very, very strong antibiotics. They also did cultures to find out what I had. I got a visit from the CDC because my cultures came back as they didn't know what it was. So I had infectious disease specialists try to figure it out. They never did. Still don't know what I had. So I spent another 2 weeks at that hospital, and then I was finally released. Now, my recovery has been a very, very long one. I thank God every day that most of my cognitive function returned and that I remembered everyone, and it just could have been, first of all, it could have been the end. And almost was. It just could have been a lot worse. All that said, so things that still affect me today. So anytime you have, sorry, I'm looking for my lash glue. So anytime you have a major trauma or infection, anytime the body does, it can trigger autoimmune disorders. So I do struggle with fibromyalgia and RA. My body has never really felt the same, but again, it could have been a lot worse. I still have, at times, crippling insomnia. I think my internal clock, my circadian rhythm, whatever controls that, just got damaged beyond repair. I don't get sleepy. I get tired. I get physically tired, but I never get sleepy. And that is very frustrating. Very frustrating. Let's see what else. I do have short-term memory loss. I'm kind of like 10-Second Tom from 50 First Dates, if you've ever seen him.
Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Henry.
Marlon.
Doug.
Lucy.
Hi. Oh, those are cool flip-flops. Where'd you get them?
You like those? It's an interesting story. I was over on the North Shore the other day.
Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm kidding, it's not that bad, but it is. Sometimes my poor husband does have to repeat things several times a day. That is also why I chose not to go back to nursing school, because I don't want to be a liability, and memory is very important as a nurse. I do still have trouble sometimes swallowing. Things get stuck a lot, especially if I take medicine or something. This is Black Moon haunting. I have chronic migraine, but I've always had that, so that's kind of nothing new. But I did notice that they got worse. I will always have compromised lung function and also an abnormal EKG whenever I go into the ER. My short-term memory loss actually makes editing my videos fun. There's always long pauses, and if you notice, sometimes there's a lot of jump cuts, and it's because my mouth doesn't work as fast as my brain thinks about something. Yeah, there's a disconnect sometimes. Mentally, I struggled with some pretty bad PTSD, as you can imagine, and unfortunately, I suffered in silence. I didn't really tell anybody how bad it was. I still to this day don't think, other than maybe a couple people, I don't think they really know how bad it was. Because like I said, everything felt like it actually happened. And it created very, very real psychological symptoms. But like I said, I'm still here, and I personally believe that I was healed, and that is just my belief, and I fully believe in the power of prayer. And so hopefully, even if you guys don't believe, you know that, especially those of you that I love and your friends, when I say I'm praying for you, it's not because I want to push my beliefs on you. It's that I know what it did for me, and so if I can do that for somebody else I love or care about, it's what I can do. And like I said, if you guys have any questions or would like to ask me anything, you can below. If you'd like to ask me in private, again, my DMs are open on Instagram. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. I thought it might be interesting. As you know, it's not something I talk about on this channel a lot, so don't expect it, but we will have some more story times, but nothing like this. So yeah, you guys know I don't talk about this a lot, but I did want to share this little piece of my life because it was such a huge event in my life, and it affected who I am today, and I thought it would be interesting. So yeah, I just thank you so much for being here. You guys have no idea how much it's meant to me having this community. I feel like everybody says that, but it really is true. I've never met kinder, more accepting, just open-minded, respectful of everyone. I've never met people like that in my life, and I adore all of you so much, and I hope you're having a wonderful holiday. It's gonna be a hard one for us, I'm not gonna lie. We're going through some stuff, but we still have so much to be thankful for, and I am especially thankful after just having gone through a horrible case of COVID. We're pretty sure we had the Delta variant. It was really bad. It lasted about a month. The actual acute symptoms, and we're still not back to normal. I'm not anyway. My husband's a little bit better, but we just don't have the stamina we had. I think they call it long haul syndrome, but you can understand how scary that was for us, having been through what we had been through with me, and that was just the flu that caused all that. So I'm a big advocate of flu shots. So yeah, I love you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will be back very, very soon with regular content. All right, I love you. Bye. You were a good boy. You was a good boy through that one. Was you a good boy? Are you my good boy? You were a very good, well-behaved boy. Oh, thanks.